that you didn't find?
Well, where is he? Why isn't he? Why, if he's real, why don't you prove it now?
You've already made a statement that your disbelief in God is because there is no evidence for it. So obviously you had idea of what evidence is. So what is your idea of evidence?
Separate.
Please. No, it's important because the root of the matter is this. If you are materialistic, then everything is matter, right? So question about animals and vegans and so on, it's on the periphery. Ultimately, if we are a creation of the Creator, why are we created? Why are animals created? That will all link in. So would you like to share with us what evidence is an evidence, what constitutes an evidence, and that wasn't convincing to you when you looked for it? For the existence of a creator who created the whole cosmos.
So a god would have to say, I am God, here I can prove it to you, and he'd have to magic some animals out of thin air, and I believe in God.
So you thought, my name is Mansoor, what's yours? George, and you? Brad. Yes. Okay, George and Brad, you've given us something that you've put it on the table, that, okay, if God existed, or creator God existed, he would say, I am God, and he does something like this magically, and you are convinced. Yeah. So you consider this to be a very convincing evidence, right?
That would be great. If God could come in now and just prove to me he was God and magic up some stuff out of thin air, I'd believe in God.
Not now. Remember what we said, what you have already done. Because you've rejected him already. Not now, already before you came here.
There was nothing to reject, because I haven't had any proof.
You have not accepted the existence of God because you said, Brad, God doesn't exist because there is no proof for it. So prior to you coming to Speaker's Corner, you've already rejected this claim that God exists. So you had some evidence or absence of evidence to make up this mind. So what was your rationality in operation, which you used to say, that's it, I'm convinced pretty much God doesn't exist. So you said you thought God never told you in public or in private that I am God and didn't do anything magic. Is that what happened?
I'll tell you what it is. It's for the same reason you don't believe in unicorns.
No. That's not the reason that my belief and disbelief rests on. You had a particular reason of disbelief or rejection of the Creator. Or a unicorn. You see, you know what you're doing again? Why do I reject unicorns?
Yeah.
The burden of proof seems to be shifting every single time.
The burden of proof is on the person making the claim. So if someone says God exists...
Now you made the claim. Excuse me. You made the claim he doesn't exist. Did you not make the claim?
I said I'm an atheist. I said,
No. Okay, let me speak to Brad. Brad said God doesn't exist, so you made a claim. So I would like to see some justification of your claim, where you said God doesn't exist because there is no evidence for it. So what evidence did you have in mind and it wasn't convincing to you?
I'd echo what George said about that.
What is it?
How can I believe in something that I have no proof of?
When you say proof...
And by the way, that might be that someone hasn't presented me with it.
Okay. So when you say proof, what constitutes proof? Well, objectively?
Then I guess that opens it up to what is God. Because we perceive...
Let's simplify. God, in our discussion, is the creator of this cosmos, the one who originated and brought this cosmos into this reality. Yeah, that's why we're able to talk, because we are living creatures.
Right.
So, what constitutes proof to you, or objectively, what is proof?
Very good question.
But you've rejected him with this idea of proof in mind.
I'm open to being educated.
That's something different, but you've already had some rejection in the very beginning. Is your rejection, what I'm trying to get at, Brad, with no disrespect, right? We are all human beings, we're trying to learn from each other.
Yeah.
I will learn from you today, definitely. And I'm sure you learn something from me, right? Right. So what we're trying to see is this, is our rejection and acceptance of something based on a solid foundation or not? Or are we going by what we call going by the flow? Everyone's believing or disbelieving in something and we are just joining the bandwagon. Remember, many people believe in evolution or disbelieve in evolution, but if you ask them, have you researched it enough to disbelieve or to accept it? And you'll find that the vast majority of the people, they haven't.
Yeah.
So they've just, followed like a sheep, right, believing in it. When it comes to God, this is a very fundamental question to our life, because if we are here in this life, it's important to ask, are we here for no purpose? Am I just here a particle of dust floating around? Or has there been a purpose of me being here? I'm put here by a creator. I mean, these kinds of questions, you, in your age, you will be asking. And I have asked, and everyone will be asking these questions. Why? Because these are the questions that are very profound and meaningful to us for our living, everyday living. Just like animal cruelty is very profound to you and to me, yes?
Not necessarily cruelty, just the general use and
Yeah,
exploitation.
but I will say animal cruelty. Of course, no to animal cruelty. You know, even transportation of animals. Are you actually transporting them in a comfortable way or not? If you're not, then you are being very cruel to animals. Yeah, so we're not against animal rights, of course, but there's a difference between animal rights and human rights, and there's a difference between the right of the creator. So that's why we're going back, not from the periphery, but to the original source about the creator. If there was no creator who created this universe, then if you think about it, there should be nothing in existence. No God, no creator, there should be absolutely nothing. The fact that there is something then really, makes everything different. If there was no God, if there was no creator, there should be nothing, absolutely nothing. There should be nothing, we shouldn't be even here discussing. But the fact that we are here and we are something, it tells us a lot about how we're here and who put us here. Can you think about or even imagine nothingness
Nothingness.
bringing about something?
No, I guess not, just by the definition of the word nothingness.
Exactly. So nothingness doesn't have its own existence because it doesn't have anything to be something. It's just a concept in our mind. It has no energy. It has no power. It has no consciousness. It has no will. Nothing of that. That's why it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
Right.
Such a thing, which is nothing, not even a thing, cannot bring something like you and me. So if we are something today, now, this very minute, there could not be a time in the past where there was absolute nothingness. Because absolute nothingness results in absolute nothingness. And there will be absolute nothingness.
Right.
So if we are something now, there has to be something always.
Okay.
It makes sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
So either someone in your way of thinking where you think there's no God, then the matter has to be always eternal. Matter has to be always in existence. Or something like this, which is what you consider to be the reality, what you see of the cosmos, has to be always there in some form or other. There has to be something always there. But if you have something always there, things that came as a result of whatever within this something that generated you and me, which demonstrates some intelligence, demonstrates some kind of consciousness, will and design and knowledge, and you call it skill, whatever you want to call it. It's like you are a piece of art where it's designed, right? Everything fits into, look at yourself and look at ourselves. The fact that we are standing is because we have something in our ears that is making us to be balanced, right? Yeah? That's why when you have tinnitus, that's ear infection, you feel like dizzy and whole world spins around you and you fall over. Yeah? So you have a balancing mechanism in your ears. The whole thing, the fact that you are listening to me and understanding what I'm trying to say and agreeing with me, there's a cognitive processes going on within your brain. Synapses are happening throughout, millions of all this are firing, connecting, and making sense. Now, all of these things, interconnections and all things that are happening, it's not just random things that appeared. I mean, it doesn't make sense that things just popped into existence like this. It's not a biological system, but like this camera.
Right.
Okay? But if you consider a biological system, like you and me, we're more complex than this ordinary camera. Yeah? So if this we cannot accept to be just appearing by itself with randomness over millions and billions of time, we haven't got many billions anyway for our universe, how do we accept that a biological system like you and me, even to the very basics of life, how life first is supposedly originated, is very complex. Okay? The first cell is very complex. So that means then if something exists always, ask yourself, does this thing have some kind of intelligence? If it doesn't, then how does it show all this intelligence now? Everything's like design.
Evolution.
Evolution. What is evolution? Does it have consciousness?
No, but I'm saying over time we've evolved and continuously evolved, and that's the explanation for what you're saying.
Interesting explanation, but does it really, provide a meaningful justification of what we see?
But there doesn't have to be a meaning to everything, does there?
Then I can say it's actually by Tunka Wonka did it.
Right. Okay.
Not meaningful to you because you don't even got a clue what Tunka Wonka is.
No,
Yeah. So would you accept it?
not necessarily. No.
Exactly. You'll want to know what is this Tunka Wonka that has caused this kind of, processes and designs and in place.
The point is, if everything complex must have a designer, then who designed the designer?
No, that's not the argument. The argument is not everything complex. This is one of the logical fallacies. The debate between creationists and anti-creationists, like evolutionist debate. We're not saying everything complex and so on. What we're saying is this: you can see clearly complexity. Okay,
Right.
complexity needs to be explained, but there are levels of complexity.
Yeah.
Yeah, information is a higher level of complexity. I can just use random letters and just juggle them around and roll them on the floor, and by randomness, you can probably find a word called ant, A-N-T. It's possible. Yeah. But if I did this, and then you have a whole Shakespeare forming, because I had lots of letters, then you would say that doesn't really make much sense with the probability and the chance statistics that we employ in our chance
Right.
probabilities. Because the information is too complex. There are patterns, but there are levels of these patterns where it goes into complex, eventually to information. Okay? So we have this information within our DNA. Highest level of information complexity.
Agreed.
Yep. That you cannot explain by just randomness, a process which is not directed by a
creator.
conscious agent.
Right. Okay.
Because evolution is not a conscious agent.
Right.
It's just the description of a process.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there could be multiple explanations. It doesn't necessarily necessitate a creator.
So
Like, I'm
if,
not saying I know all the answers.
Sure.
But-
So if it's, you see, that's what we're trying to understand. If there is no creator, then there should be nothing in the first place. But the fact that there is something, then we're trying to see how this fits in.
Not necessarily. There doesn't necessarily always have to be a creator.
So if there is no creator, should there be anything in existence?
Why not?
Okay.
I'm just saying it's like
How?
there are multiple. I'm not a physicist.
Neither am I.
No, and I'm not particularly well versed in this argument either. But all I'm going to say is that like just one explanation isn't necessarily the right one. I mean, we could have multiple explanations.
Yeah,
For
we can examine all these explanations and see which is the best explanation.
Right.
And we can get rid of, for example, if, a murder happened, you could explain aliens did it. That's one explanation. Yeah? Aliens came and murdered that individual. But you might find other video footages
and
where
that's where evolution comes in. There's loads of evidence to suggest that evolution.
that's what we're discussing. Evolution doesn't actually explain this level of complexity. It doesn't.
Well, I'm not an evolutionary biologist.
Then let's leave that.
Otherwise, I would
That's-
respond to that. But
sure.
why not? Why not? Why can't evolution explain that?
As I said, evolution
Like,
is not
I don't know if it
driven
does.
by a conscious agent. It's just unconscious process, not driven and directed by anything that is conscious and willing. It's not.
But why does it? I still don't understand why there has to be a conscious agent. Like even like you talked about DNA being like the level of complexity that has. So what? I mean, why can't something complex originate from, without a creator?
No, you can't.
But why not?
Okay.
Why not? There could be
Okay.
multiple
Sure,
explanations.
sure.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, let's take this slowly.
Very, very long.
Now,
Yeah.
so take a pic of any of the cameras, right?
Okay. Who's got the YouTube channel?
Why would you say that this camera, okay, it's not the blind watchmaker argument. Lots of logical fallacies by the author of this book and the people who write. This is a camera. Why can't this camera, by unconscious processes, come to be over millions of years in this form?
Well, obviously, like that's different.
Why can it not come?
That's different though.
No, it's not different. There's something, remember when we talked about what's the difference between us and animals? There are certain differences. So there are differences between this and a biological system. What is it that stops us from accepting that this particular camera can come by unconscious undirected, random processes to this level of complexity.
Because it operates for a specific role.
So does your eye.
Yeah,
So does your ears,
but
and your
so
tongue,
what?
and your heart, and your lungs, and your
So
kidneys.
what? So what?
So the argument
Like,
is
I get
similar.
what you're saying. We've evolved to adapt to survive.
No. This, I could say, is evolved to now have 4K. 4K. Not only like, HD definition, high definition, but 4K. Evolved. So, but you wouldn't accept that.
Okay. So going to like the original.
We moved into this from the periphery to the actual, the root cause of our discussion, which is the existence of a creator.
Yeah, but you, regardless of whether there's a creator or not, yeah, even if you do believe there's a creator, it's still unnecessary in this day and age to use animals as objects.
Okay.
And to
So
treat them
shall
as
we
like
go back
property.
to this point anyway, right? Because it's important to discuss. How do we do research to establish drugs that works in very, very, high-risk diseases, very complex
some
and lethal
examples of
cancers?
Oh, okay. So what's your point?
So if you don't do, look, I am not saying anything about cruelty to animals because that's absolutely wrong, right?
But eating them
I'm
for an
talk-
unnecessary reason.
No, you should only eat to survive, maybe.
But
and-
you can eat something
or-
else. You can eat something else. You don't have to eat
Okay.
animals.
What about vegetables?
Yeah, but mate.
Wait.
You would be way more outraged if I was if I was beating a dog than if I was standing on a blade of grass,
No,
wouldn't you?
this question is not about cruelty anymore. It's about eating. Do you eat plants and fruits and
Yes.
vegetables?
Yes.
Are they alive or dead?
They're alive.
alive.
But
Right.
they're not sentient.
So
not
now
sentient.
we're talking
Sentience
about
is the criteria.
sentient. Explain what you mean by sentient.
So the ability to experience pain, pleasure, the
They
ability.
experience pain.
No, they don't. No, they don't, mate.
Okay, this
They
is-
don't have a central nervous system. They don't have a brain. Okay.
this-
I'm sorry, but you would be way more outraged if I was beating a dog than if I was snapping a branch off a tree, wouldn't you?
What's your name?
Sada.
Sada, I'm
Yeah.
Mansoor.
You're sorry. What?
Mansoor.
Mansoor. Nice.
Studies have been done already, decades ago, where plants experience pain.
Not in the same way animals do.
You see now what's shifted?
And
We're
they don't
constantly,
experience pain at all.
Sada, we're shifting the goal every single time. Your argument seems
They
to be
react
not
to
very-
stimuli, but they don't feel pain.
They do feel pain, and people have done experiments already. So you are now saying not to the level of pain that we experience, but that's not the question. Do they experience pain? Yes, they do.
How?
If,
If they don't have a central nervous system and pain receptors like us and animals do, how can they feel pain? And also, if they did feel pain, do you not think plants would have evolved to a point where they could avoid pain?
You see, that's
But
why
they
we,
can't.
you
They're
see,
stuck
the
in
question
ground.
about evolution. That's why we go back to the old discussion about the creator. Because the moment you bring an
Okay.
evolution idea,
Why would the
in there-
creator create plants or animals indeed to feel pain for us to then exploit
Use
them?
them,
So-
for an unnecessary reason.
not unnecessary.
It is unnecessary in the UK.
Not
In the first-
unnecessary. Look,
in the first world country, it's unnecessary to
Okay.
use animals.
do you know you have enzymes in your digestive systems specifically there to utilize meat?
So what?
Do you know you have canine teeth to
So
chew
what?
meat?
So what? We don't have to
Hang on,
anymore.
hang
That's
on,
not a
wait,
canine.
wait,
We
wait.
don't have to
That is
anymore.
we're biting into apples and biting through nuts.
What do we have
This
to
could not
do
tear
to
through
digest
flesh.
So-
Yours could not tear through flesh.
What you don't realize is this:
digest meat?
the
any
system,
case, it's
the
irrelevant.
system. It's not about relevance.
We're
Relevance.
talking about biologically.
I'm talking about biologically.
Biologically speaking,
You are
it's
designed not to be a vegetarian.
But we don't need to use animals anymore.
What about
Nutrition is a
What
numbers
about
game.
my body?
So-
You can
implies I
get
should
those.
eat
You
animals?
can get those numbers from plants.
Sardar and Brad, you're constantly shifting your argument. If your argument is animals don't suffer pain, yes they do. If your argument is, you know what, we are not designed to, to eat meat, yes you are designed.
How?
So
No, but
I
in any
just
case-
explain that,
I just
please.
told you.
Even if we are.
Why
even if
would
we
you
are,
have
we don't need to
enzymes
anymore.
to digest
We don't need to anymore.
proteins from animals?
Yeah, but we don't
Why?
need to anymore.
So it's not the question about we don't need to anymore because you've already designed.
So what? We don't need to anymore. Even
Okay.
if we can eat animals.
Okay.
You make it.
Okay.
Yeah, but why use an animal for an unnecessary reason?
So Sardar, so
It
your
is
argument.
unnecessary,
So
'cause
your
you can be healthy
argument.
without using animals.
Okay. So
You
your
can't be healthy
argument.
without using animals.
Your argument is no longer that we are designed or not. Yes, we are designed, but we don't. In
How
fact,
would you feel if you were that animal?
let me put this argument forward. You shouldn't be eating plants at all.
Why you
No animals, no plants.
should.
Move, evolve. Go into one step further. Don't eat plants at all. Maybe they have a little bit of pain experience. Don't eat plants and fruits and vegetables. Next step. What are you going to do? What are you
We're
going to
going
eat?
to die.
Ah, you're going to die. So you're going to be merciless ruthless, eating vegetable to make you survive.
Yeah, of course.
What a selfish reason, Brad.
No, it's not.
Okay,
If that's
so-
necessary.
Okay, so now you're saying if it's necessary, it's okay.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, that's
Okay.
how we live. Right?
Okay, it's necessary to eat plants.
Yeah.
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 So you're fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we find that we can actually have animals and
Are they flying rodents? They are. Okay, I've never seen them.
they're not leeches.
Yeah. Go on.
Please go
Yeah.
on.
So the question about necessity, eating. So you don't want to eat any animals, right?
We don't want to use animals.
Oh, it's not about eating now, but you like your
About use.
burgers.
It's about use.
Okay.
We shouldn't use them. We shouldn't treat them as objects
Okay.
of property.
So in fact, we agree a lot in terms of not exploiting them, not overeating them, and
Just not exploiting.
but you're not exploiting them.
yeah.
I agree with you. We shouldn't be exploiting them. But in terms of research, the reason why I think it's necessary is
You mean like
this.
medical research?
Medical research. If you don't do experiments in animals, your options is not computer simulations.
Right.
Because they do not simulate the real environment a diseased body of a human being is.
Right.
So a healthy volunteer, even so if they were to volunteer, and they're very unlikely to volunteer because you won't find healthy volunteers to...
Pay them. Medical trials.
Oh, that's okay, that's justified?
You know, that's voluntary. That's voluntary. They're just getting paid for it.
Right, so you're saying if
They're
somebody...
consenting. They're consenting.
Hey,
to it.
humans
So-
can give
The
consent.
animals in
Animals can't.
laboratories
So if
not-
someone...
can't give consent.
Okay, I need to understand this argument. If someone consents to be tortured, it's okay.
Of course. It's
Yeah.
up to them.
It's consent made.
Yeah.
So basically,
I don't
your
know why they
argument
would.
is not about torture then. If a monkey were able to consent, you'd be okay with
yeah,
it.
yeah. But they can't give consent. Animals can't give consent.
Yeah, so basically, it's nothing to do with torture itself as a
It's about
concept.
consent. Yeah.
It's about consent.
Consent to use them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want you to think this carefully.
Go ahead.
You've moved away from this feeling of sympathy or empathy to other creation, whether it's an animal or a plant, away from all of this. So it's not about feelings anymore. It's about, yeah, this guy's consenting to be shot at in his head. It's okay. That's his choice, a her choice. Do you see that?
Sorry, say that again.
You've moved away from this feeling. You've divorced your feeling that is driven you to say, look, it's unnecessary, it's unjust. Unjust is...
Which you agree with.
But what you're doing is, you've moved away from this. So basically...
No, we haven't.
You know,
And it's nothing to
you
do
have
with
no
empathy, by the
feelings.
way. It's
And
nothing to do with empathy or compassion.
Yeah.
It's a basic level of respect.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I respect you, I'm not going to harm you.
respect. So your respect is not to do with how people feel pain and suffer. Your concept of respect is, as long as they get paid and they're consenting, that's okay.
That's totally up to them.
So now that's all. Now you're saying is it's all about greed. It's all about money. It's all about your own consent of how you abuse your own
The
self.
fact of the matter is, animals are innocent. They've done nothing wrong.
Humans.
And we
Humans. Let's talk about
Animals.
humans. The humans that consent to be tortured, you have no problem with that.
because they agree to it.
Yeah. So
I'm not them, I can't choose for them.
So let's understand something. If a human is agreeing to be raped, you have no problem with that?
I'd find it questionable. But at least they're giving
If they
consent.
if they're
How
giving
is it? It's
consent
not
to be
con-
raped,
It's not consent if they're consenting
no,
to
no,
be
no,
raped.
no,
consent, and we're fine with that.
listen.
That's an oxymoron. Rape can never be happen
No,
without consent.
It's difficult, but if a person blanketly said, okay, that's fine, and then everyone,
Well, some
violates
people are
her.
into really rough sex. So
Yeah,
what?
that's not about rough sex. It's just a concept. I mean, okay, mutilation of the body. Chop me off in pieces. And you're saying as long as it's okay, they're consenting, it's okay.
Yeah,
Well, it's up
they
to them.
consent to it. Yeah.
Do you see
not
the
my
problem
body,
with
it's
that?
theirs.
Like it, I would ask them why. Why do you want to harm yourself? But
Yeah, but you're okay with it. That is why I bring you back to the question that I was trying to address is, as human beings, we should live our life according to the best standards. If you are trying to put forward a standard where don't do things unnecessarily and unjustly, agreed. But
animals,
what? To everything.
To every sentient being.
Everything.
Every sentient being, not everything.
Look.
Sentient being.
If you cut the flow of water to a land which is fertilized by the water, I consider this to be unjust. But you're saying it's not a sentient being. Land is not sentient. What if it becomes dry and millions of people die because of starvation afterwards because of the drought? I would say, look, your way of thinking and my way of thinking. My way of thinking is I'm trying to use my way of thinking from Islam. Islam says, look after yourself, look after the environment, look after your fellow beings. So if
When you say beings,
look after the fellow environment, beings means your animals. Let me give you two examples. Yeah, one with the human being and one with the animals. So when we eat animals, chicken or a cow or a sheep,
Or a dog
whatever,
or a
right?
cat in
We don't eat
other
we don't eat dogs and cats.
Well, some
There
people do.
Some people do. There are certain things we eat, certain things we don't eat, and there is a reason for it. But in general, when we say we want to eat these things, we can't just eat them. We take the life away with the permission of God that God has given us, only with the permission of God. We say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar.
Can I ask you a question?
Can I finish these 2 points and then you can ask, right? So the life that we take away is with the permission of God. But how do we take a life? For example, when we slaughter these animals, when we slaughter, right? We don't slaughter in front of another animal because we know they understand. Yes, we know they will, when they see, they experience this and they feel, and you can see how they react. And we want to slaughter them in a way which is most merciful way, so they don't experience the pain.
So
That's
animals
why
are worthy of moral consideration then?
that's not the question about morality yet.
but
Question
you
about
are
mercy. So when we slaughter them in the most merciful way with the permission of God.
But they have an interest in living.
You see, I'm just putting forward one argument about showing the
let
mercy.
him finish.
Second thing, about human beings. If, for example, I am wealthy enough to sustain my life with food, and my neighbor goes hungry and starves to death, our Prophet ﷺ said that I am not even a believer. I'm not even a believer. I'm not even a believer in Islam, in his prophethood. That a believing person, that he is fully fed and his neighbor goes hungry in starvation. That shows the responsibility that we have for our neighbors. Even our neighbors have a right. They should not go hungry and starve to death if we have the means to help them. Yeah? So you can see the responsibility that we have. Islam provides this standard of living, a standard of interaction, a standard of behavior between all the creation. So one, I showed you about the animals, and I showed you about the dead land, and the water flowing, dry land, and about the animals. We have to be living in a way which is, something that is best standards of living. So this is what we're trying to invite you to, that if you look at your way of living, you are always constantly trying to live a life which is noble, which is peaceful, which is just, which is humane, which is merciful. You're trying to live your life as the best way of living, right? Experience. These living standards can either come from our experiences, and we make errors in our experience as we learn, or it can come from God through his prophets and messengers. What we are saying is, God the Creator has given us the standards of living throughout the ages, through the prophets and messengers, and the last prophet being Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that we can perfect the nobility of our character. And this is what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was raised. One of the main reasons, he says, بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمُ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have raised to perfect and raised to perfection the nobility of the character. You are noble, but you can perfect this character of yours. And this is what Islam does. Islam is not about, you just have some kind of cultish living. It's a living where it's the best way of living in relation to your Creator and your purpose. So you're fulfilling your purpose, and you are... Excellent question. What is the purpose of your lung?
my lungs to breathe.
Your ears, balance and hearing.
Yeah.
So we have purposes.
To live? Is that what you're saying?
No. What is the purpose of every organs of your body seems to quite clearly have functions and purposes that are not set by you and me. As a whole, what is the purpose that is not set by you and me?
The purpose that is not set by you and me. but set by the Creator.
It has to be something that we haven't set. So we need to know what it is. So ultimately,
Technically, it's to breed. So technically, it's to breed.
what if someone's sterile? They have no purpose in life?
No, I don't think our purpose is to breed. I don't think we should breed. There's too many humans.
Yeah. So you've answered your one question. The purpose of a life is not just